Music on office hours is provided by Tennessee Jed, whose new CD, Stronger, is available on iTunes.
All right, guys, we're ready for our four-season sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah! No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons Sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
Wake up, America. I think I got something to say to you. I love the United States of America, and I want you to love the United States of America too. Wake Up America Radio with Dr. A and Lou Bell is not a safe space, so enter at your own risk. You will be exposed to the truth, and we will endure the consequences. Now rest assured, Dr. A will not try to put his brain into your head. I will, however, motivate you to think and to use the analytical part of your brain that very few people want to use because it requires actual effort. It requires actual work. Lou Esposito is on the line. She is my producer, my sidekick, and I have given her the honorary Naval Aviation Tactical call sign of Wench because she doesn't take crap from anybody. Lou, are you there?
I'm here, still not taking crap from anybody. How are you, Doc?
I'm doing good today. Of course, this week started off with Easter, so happy Easter to everybody out there. And I want to first start off by saying that Lulu, my producer, I call her Wench, left me out in the cold today. How did she do that? Dr. A didn't know the topic of today's show until 1 minute before we were scheduled to broadcast.
That is so not true. Why are you telling people that?
She tries to trick me. Probably at Miss Stacy's insistence. Now, and you can't fool Dr. A.
No, you're pulling the audience's leg. That's not true.
Well, you know what, folks? She tries to control me or handle me like I guess a good producer does. I'm sure that Tina Dillingham tries to handle Slickery Trigger, her husband, in much the same manner, and I'm sure she's probably not very successful with
Tina's the boss lady.
Boss lady, okay. Well, you know, Lou, I want to tell you something. You're going to love this. I saw my first episode of The Walking Dead, Lulu.
Did you?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, last Sunday. I was down at the beach for a couple of days, and a friend of mine insisted I watch The Walking Dead with her. Oh, my goodness.
It's a great show.
I had no idea. I have a couple of church friends that actually are in the cast as some of the walkers, which is, I guess, what they call those dead people. But
yes.
I had no idea that what happened, and those of you who haven't seen this show, of course, it's filmed right down the street from where I live here. I live in Peachtree City, Georgia. It's filmed down in Senoia, Georgia. And I guess what has happened is that some rabies-style virus has infected every living human being on the planet. And when those people die, they become these dead people, these people that rise from the dead. What do they call those, Lou?
Walkers.
Walkers, okay.
Yeah, there's zombies.
Zombies.
But I've never liked zombie shows. And
but you love this one.
Yes, because it actually has a plot. And it's a good plot.
It's ironic in the sense that I found out about how they got this virus, and that if they die, then they become the zombies, the walkers, or if they're bitten by one of these knucklehead zombies, they become in a matter of minutes, I guess, a zombie themselves. And the only way you can kill these people, they're actually dead, except their brain is alive. And according to the plot line of this show, The Walking Dead, the way you have to kill them is to kill their brain. Either stab them in the head or shoot them in the head, and then they're done. And there's also the people that are still alive, even though they're infected with this rabies-type virus. They're fighting over supplies, like food stores and water, and so they're fighting amongst themselves. At least that was the plot of the one that I saw, I guess it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, and for the audience that's watched the show from the beginning, from the first episode, they know that based on the episode that they made it to the CDC in Atlanta, that there's neurological activity with this, whatever this virus is, causes the neurological activity in the brain to continue. So, but there's no logic to it. There's really no cognitive activity. It's only the neurological activity that is involuntary, that works your muscles. And boy, I bet we could make an analogy there for politics, don't you think?
I think so, and I think that's kind of
is that where you're going
into what we're going to talk about. I wrote this the other day. I tweeted this out. All government. Listen to me, folks. All government has an unending, unquenchable thirst for power and control over everything and everybody. And, of course, Aristotle taught us all power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's what's happening right now in Washington, D.C., with those Beltway bandits.
And I know everybody knows who Aristotle was, but just approximately what decade did he live in?
I'm talking about Steve Aristotle. He lives in Raleigh, North Carolina. No.
Aristotle was BC, and
2,500 some odd years ago. That's a rough estimate. You had Socrates was the main guy that was teaching political philosophy.
So this is how long we've known this fact.
We've known this forever and ever, but we forget things.
Yeah, we still fall into the trap.
History. Yeah, if we forget history, we're doomed to repeat it, and that happens all the time. It's happening right now. And I don't know if you want in this segment to get into what's happening in the world or last week, or you want to get right into our main topic for today's show, which is what I call Anger Incorporated. Where do you want to go, Lou?
Introduce the topic. Let's talk about the news in segment 3. All
right. Well, we're going to talk about a lecture of mine that I call Anger Incorporated. And here we go with that. And, Lou, in the 21st century, the Democratic Party is no longer a political apparatus that promotes freedom, order, equality, limited government power, the original Constitution and that interpretation that the Founding Fathers intended, traditional American values, or Christian morals and beliefs. They no longer promote that. What do you think about that opening statement, Lou?
I think I want you to repeat it.
All right, so in the 21st century, this is in America, our Democratic Party is no longer a political apparatus that promotes freedom, order, equality, limited government, the original Constitution, traditional American values and principles, or Christian morals and beliefs. What do you think of that opening statement?
Accurate. In a word.
Why do you think that might be? Why would they abandon what this country was based on and has grown great on?
Empty promises that sound good.
Well, we just talked about power. It's about power. Mm-hmm. Their power is based, unfortunately, folks, I hate to tell you this, the Democrats' power is based on lies, fraud, and deception. And those of you that know me, Dr. Ray just wrote a book. It's called Politics in America, Lecture Notes of a Lunatic Professor. And why did I characterize it like that with that subtitle?
Because I made you.
Well, you helped me with the title, of course. I gave you credit for that. Kudos for that. But when we speak the truth, you and I, Dr. A and Lou Bell, we speak the truth. The people whose power system is created and depends on lies, fraud, and deception, and pulling the wool over the people's eyes and fooling them. When we speak the truth, we threaten their power base, especially if there are people all of a sudden listen to us and believe the truth. We threaten them. So they must reach out and call me a right-wing nut job, or he's insane, or he's lost his mind, or he's a lunatic. At your insistence, I just went with that in the this book.
Embrace it. Embrace your lunaticness.
I embrace it. We were taught that you're going to be basically demonized, and thank goodness if you are demonized for telling the truth. Just hang tough and be in there.
If you're going to be demonized for something, let it be the truth.
The truth.
Yeah.
I get demonized all the time, especially when I publish something. You and JD, and by the way, I call JD now Juju Dombrowski. I like
yeah,
that.
well, we'll see how much he likes that next time you guys are in the same room at the same time.
I don't care. I'll still buy him lunch, but only if they have that really good guacamole made tableside. Oh my goodness, that was good. That CPAC. You know what, Lou? Today I characterize the modern day Democratic Party. I call them Anger Incorporated. I do so because their ultimate goal is Marxist transformation of American society into full-blown communism. Do you believe that, Lou?
Yeah, unfortunately I do. I wish that I didn't. But there's just too much evidence for it. It's just too obvious.
Are you going to let me do a couple of shows on cultural Marxism, which is pervasive? It's every segment of our society right now. I encourage
you to do them. I will only control how you do them.
Okay, all right. Now, see that, folks? She handles me. She controls me. I like that. Now, combined with numerous, and I call them both witting and unwitting accomplices, and this includes the race hustlers, teachers, members of the media, mainstream media, homosexual activists, radical feminists, thug union leaders, environmentalists, which a lot of the people on the conservative side of the political spectrum call them enviro Nazis, as well as Muslims. The Democratic Party is merely a component of cultural Marxism, and it is actively fomenting the aforementioned Marxist communist transformation. It's happening right now, folks, under our very noses, disguised, if you will, or masquerading under the cloak of so-called liberalism, which has changed from classical liberalism. All of these aforementioned entities are using and abusing disgruntled, marginalized groups of people in our society as the ultimate catalyst of a communist revolution. And they're doing this, Lou, because the proletariat working class has failed to deliver on the promise that Karl Marx theorized would ultimately initiate a worldwide upheaval, culminating in the inevitable conclusions that he first predicted in the Communist Manifesto. And that's pretty much what's happening right now, and why the Democratic Party is, as I said, I characterize them as Anger Incorporated. Well, what are your thoughts so far, Lou?
No, I think that's a great way to characterize them, because Incorporated indicates that it's a business. Their business is anger. I think it's a great way to characterize it.
They make a lot of headway. They make a lot of money. Their consultants, the people in office, the people that run the Democratic Party, on that very fact, because there are, unfortunately I call them loser parasites out in society who will not pick themselves up by their own bootstraps. The old American concept of let's make ourselves successful, like our greatest generation and everything before that used to build themselves up and be successful. They'd rather just sit around and wait for their check to show up. And the Democratic Party is more than willing to accommodate them as long as their enslavement, includes voting for the Democrats every 2 years. That's what's happening right now. We're going to do, like I said, hopefully she'll let me do 2 whole shows on cultural Marxism. We're going to talk a little bit about cultural Marxism during the course of this Anger Incorporated segment. But it's happening right now. This conversion, Lou, of the Democrats from political party into both witting and unwitting tool of a communist revolution has been building in the American political arena since about 1919, and it was the brainchild of the Frankfurt School, Vladimir Lenin, and this invention that he created called the Comintern, the Communist International. This is all part of the ongoing onslaught of cultural Marxism, and when you look at it from an analytical perspective, from a political philosophy perspective, it is a brilliant clandestine political strategy, because so many of us, Lou, in America, have our heads buried in a pile of political sand, or are simply blinded by convenient, listen to what I'm saying, convenient ignorance as to what is occurring right before our own eyes. Along the way, many of us have felt the influence of a vast array of communist facilitators that brought us to this oblivious position in life, but we failed to recognize what was happening because of numerous distractions intentionally put up to divide our field of view. There are so many distractions right now in American society that Barack Obama, the Islamo communist himself, is playing right along with that, and the Cloward and Piven theory of how to turn the United States into a socialist country, and the Saul Alinsky tactics. I know you talk about Saul Alinsky's tactics all the time. It's happening right now, Lou.
Yeah, it's happening in the populist movement that's going on around Donald Trump too, and all you have to do is watch my Twitter account. I'm really fond of calling them out for it, and you know what? They've stopped interacting with me altogether because they're tired of me calling them out and actually giving them the number of the rule that they're using in Rules for Radicals, because I will tweet the number of the rule that they're using. And can you close out the explanation? Let's go to a break and come back and get into the meat of topic.
We can. We're gonna examine this anger incorporated thesis in the next segment. But I wouldn't blame some of those Twitter trolls for blocking you and not interacting with you. I thought about that all the time, because when you and Stacy, virtually abuse me on Twitter, I feel the same way. But I know your heart, so
yeah, it's different with you. I'm teasing. With them, I'm serious. I don't appreciate. I don't appreciate the left. Yeah.
Why is it so ugly, Lou? Why is it so ugly?
I think because the people involved have made it ugly. I think that, in my opinion, Trump started his campaign from a very ugly place, and he is, just like the left, using anger to gain power. That's my opinion. No one out there has to share it. It doesn't. I'm not trying to indicate what kind of president he would be or who anybody should vote for, and I have never in my life told someone who they should vote for, and I'm not going to start now. I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to cut to a break, and we'll get back and get into more Anger Incorporated.
I looked all over, so how can it be? Here comes the wrecking ball, swinging at me.
K98 Talk is continuing to expand its lineup. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org.
They know I mean well, in spite of this hell if they try. They open their mouths, only hatred spews out with their
right, folks, we're back. Those of you that are listening, the 2 or 3 of you in the romper room. But before we get into this thesis analysis, you were talking about Trump, and it's a vetting process, Lou. You choose who you like. I choose who I like. I like Ted Cruz, and then we get down, then we whittle it down. Then you have a nominee, and then you rally around that nominee. Miss Stacy thinks that Trump's first day would look like a burning dumpster.
It would be a dumpster fire. I believe his entire term would be a dumpster fire. But I mean, it's a vetting process. But he's playing on the anger, so angry people are vetting him based on anger, and this show is about Anger Incorporated.
And that's what populists do when they take the bully pulpit, Mm-hmm. They use Anger Incorporated. So let's examine that thesis, Anger Incorporated. In the United States of America, folks, if you overtly advertise public policies as socialists, that's a losing strategy every time. Even though Bernie Sanders this last week enjoyed a sweep of 3 states, Hawaii, Washington, and Alaska, those caucuses there, and beat Mrs. Clinton handily, Bernie Sanders will never be elected the President of the United States. Categorizing yourself as a communist or a socialist overtly is a losing strategy every time. But if you label those same socialist ideas as liberal or progressive or democratic or affirmative action, pick your adjective, a majority of Americans will buy into them wholeheartedly because of their how should I put this, deficiency of knowledge on public policies, on politics, and the proper way to order and maintain a free society for continued longevity, which is what we want to do in the United States. Now, unfortunately, our failed educational system, and Dr. Lindsay talked about that last week on our show. That was a great interview, by the way. I really thank him for being with us. Our educational system has failed from kindergarten all the way through graduate school because it has effectively dumbed down the rational thinking abilities and capacities of our students in this regard. Now, there's a fellow by the name of Norman Thompson. He, back in 1944, was the leader of the American Socialist Party. And Norman Thompson made this stunning claim during a speech back in 1944. This is what he said. Listen to this, folks. The American people will never knowingly adopt socialism. The key word there is never and knowingly. But under the name of liberalism, they will adopt every single fragment of the socialist program until one day America will be a socialist nation without knowing how it happened. And I might add, without firing a single shot during the communist revolution. In the final analysis, Lynch, modern liberalism is simply a word that has been concocted to soften and or conceal the real hard-kill Marxist desires of these so-called progressive liberals. Today, folks, liberalism is indeed the cover moniker for cultural Marxism in America, and a deceptive euphemism depicting a soft-kill communist revolution actually coming to fruition or maturity in the United States of America. Only the weak-minded, brainwashed, and I call them mind-raped, Lou, loser parasites, will actually buy into this deceptive argument and be willing to trade their freedom for free stuff, willing to give up their sacred liberty, Lou, for some temporary security. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's stupid, but I think it's very true. I mean, I think that it's crazy for people to do it, but I mean, we know psychology. People live in the moment. It's all about what's going on in the short term. So if you can put a Band-Aid on something, it's done, over. I mean, it's fixed. It's fixed. I don't have to worry about it again till tomorrow, or whatever.
Right. Well, there are indeed millions of these types of people living in our nation today. and they emanate from all walks of life. You can't. It's not racist. It's not sexist. It's not feminist. It's in all walks of society, all walks of life. And you must realize that there is an inherent danger when this political and social phenomenon comes to fruition in any democratic type of system for ordering and governing a complex society. When a majority of the voting electorate, and again, this is Aristotle, I'm paraphrasing him, when a majority of the voting electorate adopts this brainwashed, mind-raped mentality and realizes that it can vote itself a significant portion of the national treasury with impunity and no negative consequences for themselves in this total welfare state, that nation will soon collapse. You can't have, the calamitous breakdown occurs even quicker, Lou. We mentioned this last week when we were talking to Dr. Lindsay. This calamitous breakdown occurs even quicker if you adopt an open borders policy of immigration, which is what we have right now. Obama just announced a few days ago he wants to bring in another 100,000 Muslim immigrants, which is going to cost $2 billion of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Were you consulted about this? I wasn't.
Are we ever consulted when they spend our money? No, because they believe it's their money.
This is not racist or sexist. This is about the United States of America. And it's not Nazi type of nationalism. I love the United States of America. I want us to continue as a free nation based on the Founding Fathers' principles and that Constitution and Declaration of Independence and our Bill of Rights, all that great stuff that was written back then, into perpetuity, longevity. This is the greatest nation that's ever existed. Please believe me. I have high school classmates of mine when I write this stuff that are, communists, and they call and say ugly things to me. They just don't get it, Lou. They don't see it. They are blinded by the cultural Marxists and being mind raped. They just are. The nation crumbles with open borders and welfare society because that soft, how should I put this? That soft underbelly is literally ripped open, and everybody in that society falls down through that wide open fissure. The parasites eventually have the ability to suck the host organism dry, and then guess what? Everybody dies.
Yep.
Again, Aristotle argued this in his seminal work. It was called Politics. While he was analyzing various forms of government, he called them constitutions, available to mankind in order to control society outside of the state of nature, which Dr. Lindsay referred to a couple times last week during that interview.
Again, things that we've known for thousands of years.
Thousands of years. We forget, though. And again, people whose power is based on this type of ugly populist, sentiment, which I'm sure you believe, as well as Ms. Stacy and a lot of people out there on Twitter, that's the exact same thing coming from Mr. Trump's camp, Mr. Obama's camp, Mrs. Clinton's camp, Hillary Clinton. They're all the same, but they just have a different letter at the end of their name.
Well, can I just say, if you don't mind, and I know I'm interrupting,
yes.
The part of the show that you're really explaining this, but I started, and you know this very well, I started from a very objective position with Mr. Trump, and I watched what he did, and I watched his campaign, and I watched how they used that anger, and it looks just like the liberalism that I grew up with, and that's why I don't like it.
The Trump campaign here in Georgia reached out to me, and they wanted Dr. A to go out there and do some campaigning for Donald Trump and rile up some of the veterans.
Be careful, he'll call you a liar.
I didn't do it. Did I say I did it? You know I did it.
No, that's what I know, and he'll call you a liar. He never asked you to do that.
Oh, he did. Well.
But I believe you. Don't worry.
What does this mean for us in contemporary America, that shining city set upon the hill? I believe that. Mr. Obama gave us a big clue, Lou, when he made this statement. We cannot continue to rely on our military in order to achieve our national security objectives. He said we've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded to order this transformation of American society. Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm sure they'll probably be wearing brown shirts, figuratively or literally.
I think they already do, and they may not be wearing the jack boots, but that's exactly what your analysis is exactly correct. Mm-hmm. Today, federal, state, and local police forces are mostly in the business of revenue collection and in a callous denial of basic individual liberty in society, because the overwhelming gargantuan needs of the total welfare state demand a Leviathan government, as Thomas Hobbes taught us, one of the contemporaries of your buddy John Locke there. And that's exactly what's happening. An ever-expanding government. We opened up the show with that. Unquenching need for, and thirst for power. An ever-expanding government equipped with a huge and powerful police apparatus in order to redistribute the wealth, redistribute the assets of society to everyone in what they would say is an egalitarian manner. That is a requirement for totalitarianism. You know what else is? The last vestige of liberty is being protected right now. And when Antonin Scalia died, the left went crazy about Second Amendment rights, and now we can get somebody else on that court, make it a 5-4 communist court, and get those guns. These people are just, they have no clue, wench. You take away the guns from, and you'll never do it. It'll never happen. There's 320, maybe 330 million people in the United States. We have well over 330 million weapons out there, legally owned weapons. You're never going to get them, ever. But that's what they want to do. That's the last vestige of liberal society, and being a democratic, government based on those types of principles and our Constitution.
So just for anyone who doesn't know, and I know probably most people do, a Leviathan is a mythical creature referred to in the Old Testament, but also many other pieces of literature, as well as a 21st century sci-fi show. But it is a monster with a sea monster with many arms.
Yeah, an unquenching desire to rein in everything and everybody for its master, which is government. Lou, the perpetual increase in the size and scope of government gives rise to police powers, meaning weapons, arrest, and seizure authority. This type of authority has already been given to civilian entities in our nation, such as the IRS, the Bureau of Land Management, TSA, NSA, Department of Education, Department of Agriculture, medical care. Policing authority is given to these various civilian organizations in order to further augment revenue collection and redistribution goals within a budding communist society. Folks, you got to trust Dr. Ray on this one subject. It's happening right now. That would be full-blown totalitarian communism, because the goal is to have government monitor, tame, and ultimately control every human behavior, every human transaction, and every human thought, wench.
And I would say it's been happening for well over a century. Actually, slowly, it's been a slow incremental crawl.
You know what? As citizens living in this type of societal arrangement, we would only be allowed to move freely inside of our zoo cage, the zoo cage that our governing elites would construct for us. These are indeed, there are indeed those in our society who will willingly, wench, give up their individual freedom in exchange for some temporary security. And this is an extremely dangerous and threatening dynamic for the longevity of the United States of America. They're fools. They're fools. Fools, these morons, deserve neither security nor individual freedom. And the politicians, along with their crony cohorts in society, the consultants and the donors, who push this security drug, I like to call it, need to be weeded out and exposed for what they really are. They are American traitors, wench, who work in Anger Incorporated and are instigating a communist revolution in this nation.
Amen, brother.
They're frauds. They frauds, again, masquerading, to reiterate, as liberal politicians, or, I'll leave you out right, as Republicans in name only. They're masquerading as race relations advocates, school teachers, Common Core, media members, homosexual activists, radical feminists, thug union leaders.
But there's a really, if people will just step back and look, there's an easy way to tell who they are. They make you a promise that they're going to make your life easier. That it always involves government controlling something that is currently free or that you have easy access to, but they say they're going to make it easier. Government never makes anything easier. Or they want to force their values on you and force you to accept them. Whether or not they are ever going to accept you, there's no mutual acceptance. There's no reciprocation. It's you accept me, and then my rights are satisfied, and that's all that matters.
The way I would respond to that is give me liberty or give me death. And that's exactly what we should all espouse. Give me liberty or give me death. Now, there's a great book that some of you should read out there besides my book, Politics in America. But there's a book by, it's called My Larger Education, written by Booker T. Washington at the turn of the century, I guess 10 or 11 years after the turn of the century. And in that book, My Larger Education, Booker T. Washington, in my humble opinion, succinctly described Anger Incorporated in the black community. This is what he said. There is another class of colored people, that's what they called them back then, who make a business out of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardship of the Negro race before the public. Having learned that they are able to make a living, a good, fine living, out of those troubles, they have grown into the settled habit of advertising their wrongs, partly because they want sympathy, and partly because it pays very well to do so. Some of these people do not want the Negro, we call them black today, African Americans, pick your adjective. Some of these people, this is 1911, do not want the Negro to lose his or her grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs, their source of income. Now, this highly astute analogy from Booker T. Washington on race hustlers applies to all of the aforementioned Marxist, cultural Marxists as well.
Absolutely. Again, it's been going on well over a century. It had been going on for quite some time when he wrote that. And Booker T. Washington was a successful African American man in 1911 who was successful because he worked very hard to be.
Can you think of any race hustlers today in the United States? I can think of several. What about you?
I cannot. I'm trying to think of someone in the Democrat Party who is not a race hustler to some extent.
That's a great statement. Very astute people listen to that. It starts at the top with the Islamo-communists in the White House, Barack Hussein Obama.
They all are. Because it benefits them. It's not because they believe it. It's not because they actually really care. Because if you look at what causes poverty, there are more people in poverty on welfare than there are in poverty not on welfare. Welfare causes... they taught me to create correlations in college. So it would seem that those two things correlate. Poverty and welfare correlate. It's become generational. It doesn't benefit anyone but the Democrat Party who created it,
right,
and have perpetuated it and have been elected cycle after cycle after cycle on it, from feeding and race baiting that to their constituents.
I think 3 of our 4 listeners tune in to hear Dr. A in political philosophy, but the other one tunes in to listen to you. And you need to all understand this. Lou Bell is very intellectual. She knows what she's talking about. So we need to have
sweet too, though.
Absolutely. The guy that was the forerunner to Aristotle, and this in between Aristotle and Socrates, the Greek philosopher Plato, he taught us that an elected politician is analogous to a physician, and that he is supposed to cure the body politic of its diseases and ailments. Unfortunately, numerous politicians and activists today see the continued ailment of groups of people in their particular constituency as the means to their ends of attaining longevity and maintaining their position of power. Perpetual suffering in the body politic, whether it's real or imagined, folks, is also a primary source of uninterrupted revenue that these people receive in streams. And within cultural Marxism, which we're going to talk about coming up on this show, we find such terms as white guilt, homophobia, white privilege, victimhood, sexist.
Now,
race.
Check your privilege, Doc.
I am so privileged to be a citizen of the United States of America and a man that was privileged to serve the United States Navy and this country for 20 years. And that's where my white privilege comes from, and I embrace it. I was privileged and honored to do that.
That's a whole different kind of privilege, and a lot more positive.
Well, all these concepts espoused by people like Obama, we mentioned, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Louis Farrakhan, are designed to keep marginalized groups mobilized, victimized, and thus ripe for the eventual communist revolution. That's what's happening right now. To cultural Marxists, they display nothing but hatred and condemnation for people, and vitriol for people like we met him at CPAC, Sheriff David Clark, Justice Clarence Thomas, Antonin Scalia, for sure, bless his heart, he's gone now, Condoleezza Rice, Ted Cruz, or any other person of color who is successful based on their conservative model of adhering to traditional American constitutionalism, strong family values, Christian morals, quality, proper education, hard work, dedication, citizen service, market capitalism, and I used a pull yourself up by the bootstraps attitude.
Yeah, the fact that a conservative minority is a threat to these people should tell you everything that you need to know about them. And so that's all you really need to know.
Okay. All right, so we talked about the people on the left who hate those people of color that have been successful in their own right and hard work. Why do they hate them? They do so because this bucks the tradition of victimhood, of white guilt and privilege, of homophobia, that these hustlers need to keep alive in the minds of their intended victims. This, Lou, simultaneously threatens their livelihood and the Marxist movement's progress. And they must dispel this notion in as many people as they can. True American patriots must always stand up and fight for our nation. We must not ever relent from the noble effort to save America by giving these types of subversive people space to destroy our beloved country, as that idiot mayor in Baltimore said. Space to destroy? Are you kidding me, Lou?
I know. People are afraid to fight back, and you cannot be afraid to fight back.
You can't. You can't. So that's the basic theme or thesis, if you will, about why I call the Democrats, and a lot of people on the right, too, those rhinos, is anger incorporated. They've got to keep people riled up.
Yeah, if you use anger to gain power, you are part of the problem.
You are the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, let's go back to Reagan, our favorite president, modern president. Yeah. He never used anger. He was always positive.
You want this last segment here, you want to maybe segue into a discussion, if we have some time, about the news of the past week?
We are definitely going to take a break real quick, and we are going to come back with the news of the week. And great segment. We'll be right back, folks.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of libertative conservatism.
Where no one is safe, no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
I've seen this happen before. And there's a full moon out tonight. I'm a fool, but you can't fool me twice. I wear my secret deception just like a disguise. When I reveal myself in the light, stick around and you might pay the price. Enough with the questions, it's time that we said our goodbyes.
I knew that this wouldn't be easy.
Try not to tie it down.
Now nothing you say can appease me.
If you wanted to go, then you would have been gone before now. The darkness abounds.
All right, we're back. Welcome back, everyone. And Dr. Ray, did something happen this week? You want to talk about some news?
You know, allegedly some things happened. You know, here's what's going on, Lou. The world is at war with Muslim barbarians. Listen to me, people. The world is at World War III with Muslim barbarians. You better believe me on that.
Yeah, and if you're waiting for it, you're backing up because it's already started.
But it seems like in the United States of America, we're obsessed with talking about Melania Trump's photography history, Heidi Cruz, Ted Cruz's wife, alleged sexual misconduct by candidates, brokered conventions, and the conspiracy theories that are still alive and well.
Conventions and
well, yeah, and those conspiracy theories that are still alive and well in the invisible primary. Mm-hmm. I told you that the invisible primary is dead because the grassroots have taken over, at least temporarily, the power and the control of the direction of the Republican Party. But the people that are in office, the donors that we never know their names, and the Republican leadership, Reince Priebus and the rest of those guys, are meeting and having conspiracy theories and conversation about how they can do this, how they can do that. Maybe we can get Jeb Bush in there one day. How do we do that? I told you that's what happens all the time in the invisible primary. It's still alive and well in their minds, Lou. Mm-hmm. Last week we had a Muslim shopkeeper who sent out a tweet. The tweet was Happy Easter to his Christian customers. You know what happened to him, Lou? He was promptly murdered by members of that so-called religion of peace, great religion of peace.
Yeah.
Also, Mr. Obama, I don't know if you know this or not, he flew Air Force One to Havana and spent some time in communist Cuba.
And went to a baseball game, which he talked about more than he did the terrorist attack in Belgium.
Yeah, he was lots of pictures of him and his wife sitting right next to that communist dictator Raul Castro, the brother of the other Castro dude, at a ball game. He also spent time and before the microphones apologizing for America. America does not need to be apologized for. I apologize for nothing, people. Nothing.
Now, can I just point out? Point out that that is a typical narcissist tactic, is to shame someone for something that they haven't done. When you've done nothing wrong, a narcissist will shame you. It's called blaming and shaming, and it's very typical.
It doesn't work on us.
No, it's not working on me.
You know who it might work on? Is the loser parasites and those kids now in the universities that are being poorly educated by these cultural Marxist professors.
It's brainwashing.
They mind rape them, Lou. You don't like that word, but they mind rape
I don't. I don't. But whatever I've learned, you're going to use it. There's nothing I can do to stop you. But it is brainwashing. It is narcissist brainwashing, and it has been going on forever. And there's nobody better at it than Obama.
Our beloved Islamo-communist chief executive was also in Argentina, tangoing with some hot chick in Argentina. His wife, Michelle, was tangoing with some hot dude. And again, in Argentina, he apologized to the Argentinian people for America. What have we done to them? I'm not even sure I couldn't even tell you where Argentina is, except it's in South America.
Don't say that out loud. You know where Argentina is.
Well, of course. But what do we have that was more important besides talking about Heidi Cruz and doing the tango and going to a baseball game in Havana?
Well, if I had known that you were going to talk about Argentina, I would have looked up the amount of USAID dollars that we've given them over the years. I would say probably in the last 10 years it would be in the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars that U.S. aid has given to Argentina. So we've done nothing wrong to them. We've done nothing but help them.
It's been a buck or two, I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's been a buck or two.
I told you if I was president, I would stop all foreign aid for 1 year, and we'd have a national discussion amongst the people about foreign aid. A whole year.
USAID, yeah.
Yeah, USAID, foreign aid. And, we interviewed Congressman Livingston, and he said that foreign aid is a drop in the bucket compared to what we spend, probably billions of dollars every hour.
It's not that USAID is all that. It's run by the State Department. It's actually an arm of the State Department, and it's not that it's a significant part of our budget. It's big enough to matter, and it is so frivolous. It is, and it most often undermines the principles of our Constitution rather than building them up. And the program was created to build up the principles of our Constitution around the world and promote democracy. But the State Department uses it now to tear those down and then apologizes to the countries that we give it to. And then lets those countries run all over us. So, yeah, it's a problem, and somebody needs to do something about it.
Well, in the aftermath of the people in Brussels, Belgium, arresting Abdeslam, the guy behind the Paris terrorist attacks, his little cohorts there, had that terrorist bombing in the metro station and the airport there. And in the aftermath of that horrible tragedy that was perpetrated by these radical Muslims, they started cracking down. They started doing these raids. They found out there's major terrorist cells all over Europe. And guess what, people? They are coming for you in the United States of America. Most people have this little sheltered life. They have their head in the sand like an ostrich, and they don't realize what happens over there. Foreign policy can kill us, and they're coming for you. They telegraphed it.
And why do you suppose
they told you?
Why do you suppose there are major terrorist cells all over Europe? Because they haven't done a darn thing to stop them in the past decade.
Well, your president said his number one goal is to get rid of ISIS and neutralize ISIS. That's crap. His number one goal, in my humble opinion, is to facilitate for ISIS and help them in any way he can in a clandestine form. Sometimes, in my opinion, not so clandestine, because he's one of them, Lou. Is one of them.
And people like to say that his next job will be ambassador of the UN. I think it'll be the Sultan of the Caliphate. That's just
he's already bought a home in Dubai where he intends to live because there's no extradition treaty between us and Dubai. I train In fact, starting tomorrow, I'm training Air Force pilots from the United Arab Emirates. That's where Dubai is.
Right.
All right. In Dubai, I train
Let's
them.
wrap it up and get out of here, Doc.
You know what, people? Here's the underlying theme we always wrap it up with. Let freedom ring, and God help us. And then always, always, always speak the truth and endure the consequences.
Thursday nights on K98 Talk at 8 p.m. and Tuesdays, WNJC out of Philadelphia, part of Conservative Commandos Radio Network. 1360 Super AM, 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.